Alright, today we're talking about Blow. And this movie's about the American dream, except it's upside down and filled with cocaine. This is a movie about a guy who wanted to be somebody, and he became the biggest, most successful drug dealer in the world. And it was all a pointless waste. You got Jung, played by Johnny Depp. He's this charismatic guy. He's not a monster, he's a dreamer. He wants to get out of his broke-ass home life and move to California. Back when California was worth moving to, now everyone's trying to get out. I know from experience, I'm originally from the Bay Area. But George is trying to get out of Dodge because he wants to be different from his poor, miserable parents. He wants the easy life, the big score. And that's the flaw right there. He doesn't sell drugs out of a sense of hopelessness or desperation, or because he grew up in the projects. His parents weren't rich, but by no means were they poor. They lived in the suburbs. George's mom was just one of those women who was never satisfied. Nothing was ever enough. So it was beat into George's head from the day he was born that he always needs to be looking outward for happiness. Happiness comes from material items and money. He's doing it for the image. He's chasing that feeling of being important, but he finds it in drugs. First it's weed, then it's the entire continent of cocaine. And the theme of this movie is excess. Nothing is ever enough. No matter how much money he makes, no matter how successful he gets, he's never satisfied. He ends up marrying a woman who's just like his mom, whose material is her, and she can never be satisfied. This is like some Freudian shit. George Jung is attracted to people who are insatiable. They're basically the main character in that Rolling Stones song, Satisfaction. And essentially that void that he's trying to fill through money and selling drugs drives him away from his family, and he has to spend the majority of his life in jail. Was it worth it? And no matter how much success George gets, he runs a massive operation, making enough money to own a small country, all the toys a man could dream of, but he's still that insecure kid looking for recognition. He wants the money, but he wants the respect more. And his problem is he trusts people too easily. In a perfect world, that's a great quality to have. A kind-hearted, naive, gentle soul. But unfortunately, he's in the cocaine business. And I don't know if he's ever been on bestgore.fun, but if you ever watch those cartel videos, they're not nice people. So in this world, trust is a liability. Every person he comes across betrays him. Derek, Diego, Kevin, his fucking mom, even his wife Marta. When the shit gets funky, they all flip on him and leave him holding his dick. But now that I think about it, you only hear his side of the story. So in his eyes, everyone else is the traitor, but I'm sure they have their side of the story too. Now that I think about it, George Jung, you kind of sound like a whiny bitch. It's everybody else's fault. Boo-hoo. And George thinks he's a fixer. That's his core psychology. His dad's working his ass off, constantly getting screwed, and his mom's constantly calling him a loser, making the house a chaotic mess. And George learns that money is the solution to chaos. He sees his dad fail because he was honest. He sees his mom, who has manic depression, drive him crazy because they're going broke. So he leaves and immediately starts fixing his life with easy money. And to George, easy money is just a band-aid to cover up the deep wound that's in his soul. Him and his buddy Tuna start selling weed with his girlfriend Barbara, who's a flight attendant, and she's transporting bricks of weed back and forth with her checked luggage, and the demand is massive back east. It's a supply and demand problem that he can solve. He sees himself as a businessman, not a criminal, a logistics expert. He's just connecting point A to point B. He's a good kid with a bad solution. And the whole thing falls apart. He gets busted in Chicago. He skips bail to go be with Barbara, who's dying of cancer. And now he's a fugitive on the run. He comes back home and gets turned in by his own mom. And now he's in federal prison. That's where he meets Diego. This guy's connected. He's got the Medellin cartel connection, Pablo Escobar, and he looks at George and says, "Fuck weed. Coke is where it's at." And as soon as George is out on parole, he violates it immediately, heading out to Cartagena to meet with Diego, and that's how it all starts. One cellmate, one conversation, and suddenly he's got the biggest cocaine connect in the US. He goes from being a weed dealer to meeting Pablo Escobar himself, Plata y Plomo. And now he's immediately got status. He's not poor anymore, he's untouchable. He connects with his old buddy Derek for real, who was his weed connect in California, and that's a badass name by the way. played by the ever so legendary Pee Wee fucking Herman, who plays a gay hairdresser who's also the biggest weed plug in the whole West Coast. And I know Pee Wee Herman came out in his documentary that he's secretly gay. Dog, after watching this movie, it ain't no fucking secret, bro. You played Derek for real, a little too for real. But RIP to Pee Wee Herman. Man, my old ass grew up watching his show and the movies. Pee Wee Herman's a fucking legend. I know he got caught jerking off in a porn theater. That's a little fucking weird. But besides that, you're the man, Pee Wee. RIP, Wee. I mean, the dude discovered fucking Morpheus. What else could you ask for? And on a side note, didn't Morpheus' daughter become a porn star? Man, that's a dark rabbit hole. We'll just stop there. So George brings Derek into the fold because of his connections, and this whole time, his buddy Diego is starting to get resentful because George is keeping Derek a secret. George, who's paranoid from his childhood, instinctively knows you don't give up all your leverage. And Diego is starting to resent this. He's the one with the cartel access, the Colombian connection. Shit, he introduced him to his wife, who he stole off another narco. But he knows George has a separate line of communication, a parallel power structure Diego can't control. So what does Diego do? The moment he gets the chance, he betrays George by cutting him out of the deal completely. He goes behind George's back and finds out who Derek is and poaches him right out of George's hands. You got two thugged out coke dealers fighting over a gay hairdresser. It's pretty funny. And the whole thing's messed up because you see the friendship develop between George and Diego throughout the movie. You think that there's actually a brotherhood there, a bond. But the only language anyone in this game speaks is self-interest. Ain't no friends in this shit. Everyone's looking out for themselves. George's ambition led him to Diego, and his paranoia and attempt to protect himself is what Diego used against him. And it's humiliating. You want to talk about the most pathetic, soul-crushing moment for George? It's when he finds out Diego betrays him. He goes to Norman's Cay to confront him, and this is the moment George realizes he's not a master strategist, he's just a mark. George established this whole pipeline, he got the US distribution, he's moving tons of coke, feeling like the man, and in the end he gets cut out of his own deal. And when he shows up to confront Diego, there's no respect, just a go fuck yourself George and a brutal ass whooping. They treat George like a piece of garbage. He gets his ass kicked on the beach. They take his money, strip his pride, and send him home like a wounded animal. They don't kill him, they do something worse. They tell him you're insignificant and you're no longer needed. They strip his money, his status, and his dignity. And this beatdown is proof that George's whole life is a lie. He thought he was playing on the highest level, but in reality, he's a lackey who could be replaced. He's just another disposable spoke in the wheel. And when he's no longer needed, they ship him back to where they found him. And now that George is basically rendered useless, his wife starts copping an attitude at every stop, breaking his balls every chance she gets. When George meets her, she's this beautiful, fiery Colombian wife, and for a while, she's perfect. She's exotic, into the excess, and she's like a partner in crime. But her love is completely conditional. For her, the relationship was transactional. She didn't marry George Jung the man, she married George Jung the cocaine kingpin. And as soon as his power structure starts to crumble, her attitude flips, and she starts to see George as a liability, a loser, and she immediately becomes a naggy bitch who loses all respect for him. And after George got emasculated by Diego, he becomes a limp dick lover because his whole sense of masculinity is tied to success, and she knows it's gone. Their romance was fueled by cocaine and cash, and when that ran out, all that's left is contempt. And the whole thing culminates in the most devastating domestic scene in the movie. They're driving and fighting, the tension is boiling over, Mirtha's high, and she's fed up with George's failure to provide and his failure to keep her satisfied. She's manic and screaming and causes a scene to where the cops pull them over, and she rats him out immediately. She tells the cops he's a fugitive and he's got cocaine in the trunk. She's the ultimate example of betrayal. She turns him over to the cops, and it proves the point that the love George desperately needed was just an illusion. And the moment he failed to be the kingpin, he ceased to be anything to her. And to her, toying with his emotions is a game. It gives her power. She knows his weakness is their daughter Christina, so she keeps Christina from him at every chance, turning George into an obedient dog, having to kiss her ass just to see his own daughter. And now that George George is out of jail. He's a broke dick bum, not even paying child support. So Mirtha is using that as a reason to not see Christina. So George gets the bright idea to do one more score. Maybe this time he'll get to see his daughter. What's the logic in that? You're gonna risk doing jail for the rest of your life just to see your daughter? Get a job at the fucking grocery store, like regular people. You know what? This whole movie has you siding with George. You know, he's the protagonist. You see the story through his eyes, but he's actually a fucking idiot. He's using this movie as a way to enable his behavior. Oh, my mom yelled at my dad, so I had to become a drug dealer. Oh, I wanted to see my daughter, so I had to sell coke. Motherfucker, what world do you live in? Put on a tie, go work in a fucking office like a regular man, and suck it up. Ain't nobody trying to hear your shit. I refuse to feel sorry for a guy who's made more money in one weekend than I ever will in my lifetime. Go fuck yourself, George. So he gets together with his old buddy, Kevin Dooley, and fucking Waingro from Heat. He's trying to put together a new crew, but history has shown if you have Waingro in your crew, you're already fucked. And it turns out he was making a deal with feds. His buddy Dooley and Derek For Real ratted him out so they could get pardons. They turned heel on him. And now he's left holding his dick doing a 40-year stretch in prison. And in the end, they have that little preamble about how his daughter never came to visit him. Okay, so now we're blaming your daughter, George, for your choices? This guy is completely delusional and has a hardcore victim complex. It's everyone else's fault. And that's the story. But he's out now. My buddy Ernie filmed an interview for him a few years back. So shout out to Boston George. Good for you. Hopefully you got to see your daughter again. But I love this movie. Man, this movie came at the right time when I was in my formative years. I used to think George Jung was so cool, but now that I'm older and a father, I realize he's a fucking loser. But, you know, you live and learn. But this movie's a good cautionary tale on how not to be so freaking selfish. Think about your family, think about your daughter before you make choices in life. But this movie has great scenes, great quotes, and it's filmed really good. I don't know who directed this shit, but it looks like a Scorsese movie, and the music is incredible. That Blow soundtrack goes. Oh shit, I just looked it up. The guy that filmed it, Ted Demme, died like a year later. No wonder I haven't heard of the guy. Yo, man, that fucking blows. R.I.P. Ted Demme. If he would have stayed alive, we might have seen more classics. That guy was really damn good. Let's see what else he got here. Oh shit, he did Who's the Man in '93 with Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. He went from Who's the Man to Blow. That's a pretty big fucking jump. Shout out to Ted Demme. But anyways, tell me your thoughts. Tell me your favorite scenes, your favorite quotes. Tell me what this movie meant to you. And to the rest of you, I hope you have a good night. Be safe. Don't sell coke. And God bless.